So, finally, there's something about Whitechapel has been released today. My apologies, it should have been out probably in the summer. Yeah, anyway, moral of the story is we got there. So Whitechapel, one of my favourite places on earth. History, heritage, mythical folklore, tales. The place has everything. In my opinion, probably the most interesting place, certainly in Great Britain. Um, yeah, Whitechapel was once home of suspects, lunatics, and a leather apron. So this book, I delve into a case which is now, oh, let me think, 134 years just gone. And anyone out there, I'm not trying to say I'm a Ripper expert. I'm very familiar with the case. I've studied it for over 30 years now, but I'm no Ripperologist. That's for people like the Lindsay Siviters, the Richard Jones, the Paul Beggs, Edward Stow, and they're all in this book. So all I am is a guy who has a lot of energy, a huge interest in the case, and I kind of look at it and why is there still an interest in this unsolved crime? It's probably the Mount Everest of British crime, maybe even the world. It's never. I mean, I found out for the research of this book that Scotland Yard had something like 167 suspects. One was even from Middlesbrough, which I've put the full ins and outs in this book. Richard Jones studied the Middlesbrough Evening Gazette in 1889, so all the details are in there. And this book, is just basically, I think today the interest in the Whitechapel murders is as great as ever. Modern technology allows people like myself to come and stick the nose in and have a sniff about, and it's just something that I'll never get bored of studying. The book isn't all about Jack the Ripper. There's a little bit on there's a chapter on boxing, because obviously that's has huge links to the East End, the concrete jungle. Many of the East End fighters fought their way out, if you like. John H. Stracey's, your John L. Gardner's, Morris Hope's, the Repton have just produced fighter after fighter, haven't they? There's a chapter on West Ham United. Lots of the ins and outs on Cockney culture, and I hugely, ridiculously interested in studying proper Cockneys, and I used to think before writing this book that if you were from London, you were a Cockney, and that's not the case. And Gary Hutton kind of tells me the ins and outs of being born within the sound of the Bow Bells. So listen, guys, it is a fabulous read. I'm not biased, but it is. It's something, and I know when the likes of, I'm going to be giving Martin O'Neill a copy. Martin's obsessed with the Whitechapel murders, and yeah, even like the Richard Jones of the world, and the few other people in this book, I'm convinced that I'm going to give them new information, because I did spend a lot of time on this book now. I think I started it October last year, and I know it's been done for months, and as I said, it probably should have been out August time, I think. A few kind of minor hiccups, issues along the way, but yeah, it's out there, and if you like anything like Chas and Dave, West Ham, pie and mash, jelly deals, Cockney rhyme and slang, it's just the A to Z of a lot of kind of Cockney things that stupid little things, pie and mash and liquor and all this kind of thing. And as I said, if you've got any interest in any kind of London thing, You're going to absolutely love this book. So, yeah, the thumbnail is the front cover of it. If you want to click in the bio, click on it, and it'll direct you to Warcry Publishing, and you can buy it for $14.95 today. A big thank you to all of those involved: Mick Priestley, Lindsay Siviter, Paul Begg, Richard Jones, Gary Hutton, Chris Ross, the East End poet, and forgive me, there might be one or two others. As I said, I'm just a guy with a lot of energy. I have a lot of interest in that part of the world, but I'm no means an expert. I'm certainly no ripperologist, but I have spoken to the elite, the best as far as I'm concerned, for this book. And you know, I asked them all that question. Look, if it's life or death, and you know, you get shot, you die, who was Jack the Ripper? And it's interesting, but I'll tell you, is all their opinions are very different to the other one. And as I said, these guys, I don't think there's many on the planet. You know, of course, Donald Rumblow's retired now. Martin Fido's gone, God rest him. If he'd have been about, I would have loved to have approached him for this book. But, you know, the likes of Lindsay Siviter and your Paul Beggs and Richard Jones, Edward Stowes, Mick Priestley's, every time there's a Jack the Ripper on a documentary, these are the guys that jump out. I mean, you know, there's one stage of Paul Begg, you couldn't watch a Jack the Ripper documentary without him being on somewhere. So it was an absolute pleasure, a privilege, and a huge honour that I got these guys on board. Huge thank you to Gary Hutton, the East End poet as well, Chris Ross. So everything, I mean, this book, there's very different people and they bring something different to the other one. And it's just my take on the A to Z of, I suppose, everything Cockney or Cockney. So yeah, listen guys, the book is out today. So click on the link and purchase a copy today. Thank you all for your interest, love and support. God bless.